Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here with kind of a general December reading update. I'm going to talk about the books I plan to read during the rest of the month for Margaret from the Word Nerds Reading Wrap 2019 Challenge, which is a really fun looking bingo board that's just to try and motivate you to read some books that maybe you meant to read this year and you haven't read yet, because we're almost done with 2019 and I'm terrified. Just in general, not about reading. It's fine. And I'm also going to talk about two books that I have DNF'd recently, which is a big deal for me because if you guys have been here a while, you probably know that I almost never DNF, and the only times I really do is if it's right at the beginning of a book, which is what happened with these two. So I'm going to start off with the books that I hope to read for the Reading Wrap Challenge. And as Margaret talked about in her announcement tweets for this, it's really supposed to be very low key, and she also mentioned that it counts for the whole of December. So I'm going to say that the books I read in the first few days of December before she made the announcements about the challenges, if I can fit those into challenges, I'm going to say they count, which means that I only have a few challenges to complete, which makes me very happy. So one of the challenges is to read the highest rated book, so going to Goodreads and looking at the average ratings, and the one that has the highest average rating that is also on my physical TBR is Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History by Vashti Harrison. Vashti Harrison has just stunning artwork, and I love these kind of feminist compilation nonfiction books that usually have really lovely art. I just love this whole trend. I'm never going to get tired of it, and I haven't actually read any of Vashti Harrison's work yet, so I'm very excited about this. And I'm also counting this for the prompt of a gift book. And I have a few other books I could use as gift books, but I'm going to use this one so that I can double up. But I do hope to be reading some of my other gifted books during the month as well. I just don't have those officially on this list. And then another book I'm going to use for two prompts is going to combine the Book You've Been Avoiding challenge and a TBR veteran challenge, so one that you've had on your TBR for a very long time. And this is a perfect fit because I just don't feel like reading this book. I still don't feel like reading this book, so we'll see if it actually happens. But that is Lily of the Nile by Stephanie Dray. This is an Egyptian historical fantasy, and it follows the daughter of Cleopatra. And it's not that I don't think this is going to be good, I just, for some reason, have not been at all in the mood for this. But I should read it this month because it's one of the last books on my my retelling bingo challenge that I wanted to do. I've already swapped out a couple of those other ones though, so we'll see what happens. The next book I have counts for several challenges, and that is Exile by Shannon Messenger. This is the second book in the Keeper of the Lost Cities series, and hopefully part 2 of my November wrap-up will be going up very, very soon, so you'll see that I really enjoyed the first book. And this is the sequel, and this counts for the shiny cover challenge, as you can probably see. It also counts for the winter on the cover challenge, because I feel like these colors are very wintry feeling. For the second chance author challenge, because Shannon Messenger also wrote the Let the Sky Fall series. I read the first 2 books in that trilogy, and I hated them. So I'm so glad that I'm enjoying this series so far. I guess technically she's not exactly a second chance author because I did read and enjoy the first book in the series, but I'm still gonna count it. Margaret even said that you can be as loose with the challenges as you wanted or needed to be, so I'm taking her up on that. And then this also counts for the next in a series prompt. Next I have Dear Enemy by Jean Webster, and this is to read a book that you have read before, so a reread. And I'm so glad this challenge is on there because this is the last book besides The Secret Garden, which I am currently reading. This is the last book that I had for the 2018 BookTube Rereadathon project. Yeah, I said 2018. There were a couple on that list that I never got to, and I really want to at least finish it this year, so I'm not 2 years behind. But this is a sort of sequel. It's a companion sequel to Daddy Longlegs by Jean Webster, which is a classic novel that I think doesn't get enough love. And I really enjoyed that one, and I really enjoyed this one when I read it. I think the prompt for the rereadathon that this counts for is to reread a book that has difficult elements or problematic content or something like that. And this book discusses eugenics quite a bit, and I remember reading this the first time that they do get to a point where they realize eugenics is a bunch of BS, basically. And I'm thinking the accidental DNF challenge is the one that I might skip, because if you're going for blackout or for bingo or whatever, you're allowed to put the free space on whatever challenge you want. And that's because, again, I don't really DNF that often. If I do want to use this challenge though, the only book I can think of that fits is The Garden of Heaven, Poems of Hafiz. This is translated by Gertrude Bell. And then the last challenge is to read a book that you predict will be 5 stars. And currently I have checked out from my library All-American Muslim Girl by Nadine Jolie Courtney, and I am definitely anticipating this book to be 5 stars. I've heard wonderful things about it. It's supposed to be such a thoughtful exploration of identity and family and religion and culture, and I've just heard great things. So this is an Own Voices book, and I believe our main character, she is Circassian. I think that's the name of the region or people that she is from. That's where her parents are from, and she's American, and she's also white passing, and her parents are Muslim, but they're not really practicing, or they're not super active when it comes to demonstrating their religion. And it's about our main character who starts to wonder if maybe she does want to practice more, and what that means and how she's going to navigate being American and Muslim at the same time, and also how all that interacts with racism and prejudice and the idea of passing as white when you don't look like somebody that people might expect to be Muslim. So I just think that's going to be a really beautiful story. I know Sajid from Books Are My Social Life absolutely loved that book. He has a whole review on it that I still want to watch. Probably I'll read the book and then watch it. So I am just really anticipating loving that book. And then really quickly, we're going to go over the 2 books I have DNF'd recently. And as I mentioned at the beginning, pretty much one of the only ways I can feel comfortable DNFing a book is if it's right at the beginning and it's like, it's more of a feeling of like, oh, this book is not about what I thought it was going to be about, or it's not a kind of book I thought it was going to be. So it almost doesn't feel like DNFing because it's like, I'm not reading the book I thought I was going to be reading, if that makes sense. And the first one is The Glass Town Game by Catherine M. Valente. Now, I have really loved some other things I've read from Catherine M. Valente, but this book was kind of an impulse purchase anyway, and I just don't think I'm as excited about the Brontes as I think you need to be to enjoy this book. But that's okay, and I actually have a really lovely autographed copy of this book because I ordered it from Book Outlet and I just happened to get a signed edition, which was wonderful. And I will actually be sending this to somebody who is definitely going to appreciate it more than I did, so I'm feeling very good about that. And then the other DNF was a library book, and that is Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. This is a historical romance book that has been, I think, very popular lately. Lots and lots of glowing reviews, but I just really didn't get on with it. I only got a few pages in and I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like reading this. And the reason I had actually started it then is because my library hold was going to be expiring soon. And I had recently finished another romance book that I really didn't like. And I just couldn't handle the idea of having to force myself through another romance book that I wasn't enjoying. So I ended up returning it. And also, I know this is such a minor thing, but within the first couple pages, there was like this really huge like historical accuracy issue that like didn't even need to be there. The main character refers to herself as 20 and 5 years old, and it's like, okay, if you're trying to use the old-fashioned version, it would be 5 and 20. Like, no one in the history of ever has ever said 20 and 5 when referring to their ages, at least as far as I know. And as somebody who deeply loves Jane Austen and rereads her a lot, that just grated on every single one of my nerves. And I know that is such a small thing to be irritated by, but honestly, like, it's such an easy thing to Google, and that's what was so frustrating about it. Plus the fact that it like was completely unnecessary. Like, just say 25. Like, honestly. And I was actually thinking of possibly coming back to this book later, like trying again when I was more in the mood for it. But I read some of the very few negative reviews for this book. As I said, a lot of people love it. And you know what? I am really, really glad that I'm not going to be reading that one. Slight spoilers ahead if you do plan on reading this book, but apparently the love interest is a classic alpha male douchebag. Frustrating and controlling. Apparently the first kiss between him and the heroine happens when he like backs her up against a wall and forcibly kisses her to demonstrate how easy it would be for him to rape her or take advantage of her. No thanks. I do not want to read that, so I'm quite happily never going to be touching that book again. Kind of ending on a downer there. So those are some of my reading plans for the rest of the month of December. I've already read quite a few books, which I'm very happy with. I will be getting to more than the small stack that I showed you guys, but that's just a starting point because I'm really excited about this challenge, and especially the ones where it's like, yeah, I definitely meant to read this book earlier, and now it's the last month of the year. And I haven't read them yet. By the way, I will link Margaret's Twitter post about the challenge, and if she has posted her TBR yet, I'll also link that. Let me know if you guys are participating in the Reading Wrap 2019 challenge, and let me know if you read and enjoyed any of the books I talked about today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!